Before we proceed to this video, let us introduce our team. We are Easy Feasib. Our goal is to provide projected financial aspect of feasibility study to college and graduate students with a very affordable price. We intend to create and publish this video publicly in order to provide free access to college and graduate students who have no idea what is a feasibility study and how it is done. To support our advocacy, we would like you subscribe to our YouTube channel and finish any advertisement on our video for us to earn and have the capacity to create more videos like this in the future. Thank you very much. Chapter 4, Marketing Aspect, Part 4, Demand and Supply Analysis. Now that you have interpreted the data that you gathered from your survey questionnaire, it is time to utilize it by computing the demand, which is the step 7. But first, we need to define what is demand. Demand is the desire, willingness, and ability of consumers to pay a certain price for a product or service at a given period. Remember that we define the marketing aspect is the aspect of a feasibility study that shows if the product or service of the business has a demand and supply in the market. In order to determine the marketing aspect of a feasibility study, demand is one of the key factors that must be determined. Remember also that we stated on our last video that if there is no demand for the product or service, then your business idea failed the feasibility study. In order to compute for the demand, we need the key ingredients for it. Number 1 is the projected populations and number 2 is the survey results. The projected populations that you must use will depend on the period your feasibility study will focus. It can be a 5-year period from the year 2023 to year 2027. It can also be a 10-year period from the year 2024 to 2033. You need to clarify this to your advisor on this subject so that you don't waste time. In our example, we will be using the projected population from the year 2023 to year 2027, which is a 5-year period. First, do a table like this one. The first row is the years 2023 to year 2027. The second row is the projected population we computed on our last video entitled Chapter 2, Marketing Aspect, Part 1, Population and Annual Average Growth Rate. Look on the description below for the link. On the third row, we will be using the survey results, which is your cheat sheet, and we start it like how the survey questionnaire is arranged on our last video entitled Chapter 3, Marketing Aspect, Part 2, Sample Size and Survey Questionnaire. The first question that we asked is, do you eat vegetarian burger? And based on the result, 80% said yes. Let's put it here and labeled it as percentage of respondents who eats vegetarian burger. Then, the fourth row would be the product of population and the percent of respondents who eats vegetarian burgers. You will name it as number of people who eats vegetarian. On the fifth row, put the 88%, which is the percentage of respondents who likes the idea of banana peel as burger patty. Again, this is from the result of your survey. You might start to appreciate now the importance of your survey results. Then get again the product of the fourth and fifth row to come up with the number of people who likes the idea of banana peel as burger patty and put it on your sixth row. For the seventh row, get again the percentage from your survey results on the question, do you like our product? Which is the 86%. Finally, on the eighth row, get the product of the sixth and seventh row to come up with the projected number of customers. Many people think that the projected number of customers is already the projected demand, which is very wrong. We need to convert it to the number of product or service that we provide. In this case, we need to convert it to number of burgers demanded. So, how can we convert it? Remember that we have a question in our survey that says, how often are you willing to purchase our product? And the choices are daily, weekly, every 2 weeks, monthly, and yearly. We will get the percentage and make tables each. Let's start with a daily basis result. On the first row would be the year of course. The second row is the projected number of customers, which we just computed a while ago. The third row is for the percentage who chose the daily. The fourth row would be the product of the second and third row to come up with the number of customers who buys your product on a daily basis, which is the fourth row. The fifth row is the number of days in a year, which is 365 days. Lastly, on the sixth row, multiply the fourth and fifth row to come up with the quantity demanded from daily basis customer. Do it repeatedly to all options for weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, and yearly then. Add it all. The sum of those quantity demanded from daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, and yearly is now what we call the projected demand. It's very easy, right? This is the demand of burgers in Metro Manila who for customers aging 18 years old and above. After we computed the projected demand, let's now proceed to the next step. Step 8 is very easy, which is determining the supply. Some students thought that the supply is the number of units that the feasibility students will provide to the market. This is very wrong. Let's define what is supply. Supply is a fundamental economic concept that describes the total amount of a specific good or service that is available to consumers. This means that supply is what the existing businesses already provided to the consumers in the market. In our example, our product is a burger. So if we want to check if there is a supply of burgers existing in the market, we need to identify who are those because these businesses who already supplied burger to the market is what we can consider as competitors. Before you enter a battle, it is advisable to know who is your enemy. As a burger-making business, my potential competitors would be McDonald's, Jolly, Burger King, and Angel's Burger. To gather data from these businesses, you can check their financial statements from Securities and Exchange Commission. You can also conduct an interview or survey from them to know what is their maximum capacity. From that, you can conservatively estimate that their overall supply in the market will be covered. Prepare a table like this one to compute for the projected supply. The first column would be for the list of your competitors. The second to sixth column would be their annual maximum capacity. Like in McDonald's, it's indicated here that he can only provide 50 million burgers in 2023, and it's projected to increase every year using the annual average growth rate of 4.12%, which we computed on our last video entitled Chapter 2, Marketing Aspect, Part 1, Population and Annual Average Growth Rate. Check the total for each year to come up with the annual maximum capacity of your competitors or the projected supply. Very easy, right? After we computed for the demand for burgers and the supply, you will notice that there is a portion of demand which is not yet satisfied or unsupplied portion. This unsupplied portion is what we call the unsatisfied market or the demand gap. This is the final step. Step 9, compute the demand gap and projected sales. Demand gap is simply defined as excess of demand over supply. If demand gap exists, then it means that there is still an opportunity to enter the market and supply the excess demand. So what is instead of demand gap? There is a supply gap or surplus. If surplus will be the result, then there is no available opportunity for business to enter the market since there is no longer demand or unsatisfied market. For feasibility study, it means that the business idea failed the feasibility study. In our example, the projected demand is higher than the projected supply, which means that we can still enter into the market as there is still unsatisfied portion of demand which is still unsupplied. Burger Queen will now assume the unsatisfied portion, but not the whole portion. If there is a demand gap, it does not mean that you can assume to supply all of them. You just need to establish the conservative market share that you wish to cover. The advisable rate to use is from 1% to 30% only of the demand gap. While you are deciding what rate should you use, you need to consider also your maximum capacity. Let's define maximum capacity. Maximum capacity is the maximum level of output that a company can sustain to make a product or provide a service. In other words, if you overproduce, your machinery and labor will be compromised. This will be discussed on a separate video under technical aspect. Let's compute for the market share, or the projected sales in units. We just simply multiply the demand gap with the percentage of market share that we wish to supply. In this example, our conservative market share is 3%. 3% is within the advisable rate from 1% to 30%. After we multiply the first and second row, we can now determine the projected sales in units. We need to compare the projected sales in units to the maximum capacity. Let's say that the maximum capacity of Burger Queen is only to produce 1 million burgers annually. If the maximum capacity is greater than the projected sales in units, then the excess demand that we wish to cover is serviceable. If the maximum capacity is lower than the projected sales in units, then the excess demand that we wish to cover is not serviceable. In our example, it turns out that the maximum capacity is greater than the projected sales. So the 3% conservative market share rate is serviceable. By the way, we can simply compute the projected sales by computing the projected sales in units to your selling price. We assume that the selling price here is increasing annually by 10%. That's it. That's how you determine the marketing aspect of the feasibility study. Here are the complete steps in determining the marketing aspect of the feasibility study. Step 1. Gather available data for your target market. Step 2. Determine the annual growth rate. Step 3. Compute for the projected population. Step 4. Compute for the sample size. Step 5. Create a survey questionnaire for data gathering. Step 6. Conduct the survey and interpret the data gathered. These 6 steps were discussed on the previous videos. Make sure that you watched it so you can really understand our topic for this video. Step 7. Compute for projected demand. Step 8. Determine the projected supply. Step 9. Compute for demand gap and projected sales. Those were all the 9 steps that you need to do in order to determine the marketing aspect of your feasibility study. Congratulations on finishing this series for the marketing aspect. The next video will be the technical aspect of the feasibility study, so stay with us and learn more. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel to see the next topic. The links to our social media accounts are on the description below. Do it the easy way with Easy Feasib.